I'm Lydia, and a few weeks ago, my world turned upside down when my dad slipped away after a long fight with his health. Every time I think about him, a lump forms in my throat, especially when I picture the promise we made on my wedding day. I was 35, standing in my white dress in our backyard in rural Tennessee, the air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. Dad pulled me aside, his eyes crinkling with that familiar warmth, and said, "Lydia, when you and Ben have a little one, I want to be the first to know." I laughed, promising I'd call him the second I found out. But now, that promise hangs heavy, unfulfilled, because he's gone, and I'll never get to share that joy with him. It's the kind of regret that sits in your chest like a stone. Growing up in our small town outside Nashville, I was always Daddy's girl. He ran a hardware store, the kind where locals lingered to swap stories over coffee. I'd spend hours there as a kid, perched on a stool, watching him polish his collection of rare coins, shiny pieces of history he'd show me with a grin, telling tales of old mints and forgotten presidents. Those moments tied us together, a thread of memories I cling to now. But his illness changed everything. It crept up slowly, then hit hard, pulling him from the fields he loved to hospital beds that smelled of antiseptic. I did everything I could to be there for him. I drive from my apartment in Nashville, where I work as a graphic designer, to our childhood home, a cozy house with creaky floors and a wraparound porch. I'd sit with my mom, holding her hand through endless hospital visits, or call Dad just to hear his voice, even when it grew weak. But my sister, Megan? She was nowhere to be found. For years older, she'd always been the ambitious one, leaving our small town for Atlanta's bright lights. She built a flashy career in marketing, married Todd, a tech startup hotshot, and seemed to forget the dirt roads we grew up on. When Dad got sick, I begged her to visit. "It's just a few hours' drive," I'd say, my voice tight with hope. But she'd snap back, "Lydia, I'm busy. The city's not like here. Time and money don't grow on trees." Her excuses piled up, each one a brick in the wall between us. I couldn't understand how she could stay away when Dad needed her most. It hurt, not just for me, but for him, though he never said it. I'd see the flicker of disappointment in his eyes when I mentioned her name, and it broke my heart. Sitting in our living room one morning, I whispered to my mom, "Did I do enough for him?" My voice cracked, the guilt spilling out. I'd spent countless nights wondering if I could have pushed harder, made more memories. Mom, ever the peacemaker with her soft southern drawl, reached for my hand. "Lydia, you were his rock." He knew it, and he was so proud. Her words were a balm, but they didn't erase the ache. Just then, the front door creaked open, and Megan walked in with a man in a crisp suit, maybe in his 50s. "This is Nathan Brooks, the lawyer," she said, her tone clipped, like she was already annoyed. Mom offered him sweet tea, and we sat around the oak table where Dad used to read his Sunday paper. My stomach churned. Something told me this meeting was about to stir up more than just grief. The air in our living room felt thick as Nathan, the lawyer, settled into a chair, his briefcase clicking open like the start of something inevitable. Megan leaned forward, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the table, already impatient. "So, Nathan said Dad left us a big inheritance," she announced, her eyes gleaming like she'd won a prize. I couldn't help myself. "Megan, it's not all yours," I said, sharper than I meant. Her face tightened, and the room went quiet, the kind of quiet that hums with old wounds. Mom shifted uncomfortably, but Nathan just cleared his throat, trying to steer us back. Our relationship had been a mess for years, ever since Megan decided our small-town life was beneath her. She'd always been the golden child, top of her class, prom queen, the one who could do no wrong. But when she moved to Atlanta, it was like she erased us. Dad's illness only made it worse. I'd call her pleading, "He's asking for you, Meg." She'd brush me off, saying she had meetings, flights, a life too full for a 5-hour drive. I'd bite my tongue, but it stung. How could she prioritize her job over Dad? Now, sitting across from her, I felt that old anger bubbling up, mixed with the raw grief of losing him. Nathan pulled out a white envelope, my dad's familiar scrawl on the front. "That's his handwriting," I whispered, my heart catching. Megan rolled her eyes. "Just read it, Nathan. I've got places to be." He opened it, revealing a single sheet listing the inheritance, the house and surrounding land, $300,000 in savings, and a storage shed near the farm Dad leased. I knew about the house and land, but the shed was news to me. Megan's brow furrowed. "What about the farm?" she demanded. Nathan looked surprised. "The farm? It's leased, not owned." I explained how Dad, after years running his hardware store, had slowed down to farm as a hobby. He loved the land, said it grounded him. Megan scoffed, like it was a waste of time. "The house and land go to your mom," Nathan said. Megan smirked, probably calculating what was left. "The savings and shed are to be split between you two and your mom." Megan's eyes lit up. "Savings means cash, right? I'll take that." My jaw dropped. "Hold on. Why should you get all the cash?" I snapped. "Because I'm the eldest," she shot back, like it was obvious. "You can have the shed. What's it even worth?" Her dismissal stung, like I was being handed scraps. Nathan explained the shed came with a small plot of land, about 90 square feet, and showed us photos. It looked run down, filled with rusty tools, nothing special. Megan wrinkled her nose. "I don't want that junk. You take it, Lydia." I protested, "That's not fair," but Mom chimed in, "As long as Megan doesn't complain later, I'm fine with it." Megan laughed, signing a document to lock in her claim, smug as ever. I felt trapped, my grief tangled with frustration. Megan's greed was no surprise. She'd always chase the next big thing, from her fancy Atlanta condo to her designer bags. But this felt personal, like she was spitting on Dad's memory. As we left the meeting, I turned to Mom, my voice low. "Why didn't you back me up?" She sighed. "I made sure you got the shed, Lydia. It might hold more than you think." Her words sparked a tiny flicker of hope, but I couldn't shake the bitterness. Megan walked away with $300,000. Mom got the house, and I was left with a dusty shed nobody wanted. Or so I thought. A few days later, I grabbed the shed's key from Nathan and drove out to the countryside, the Tennessee hills rolling past my window. The shed sat next to a field Dad had leased, now empty, the grass swaying in the quiet breeze. I don't know what I expected, maybe a piece of Dad to hold onto, something to ease the ache of his absence. But when I unlocked the door, a wave of dust hit me, thick and stale, like the place hadn't been touched in years. "Wow, this is a mess," I muttered, stepping inside. The shed was cluttered with old farming tools, shovels, hoses, a pair of rusty shears. They were the kind of things Dad loved, practical and worn, but nothing screamed value. My heart sank. Was this really all he left me? I wandered the small space, running my fingers over a cracked wooden bench where Dad probably sat, planting his crops. Memories flooded in, summers helping him in the fields, his laugh when I got dirt on my face. But the disappointment gnawed at me. Megan got a fortune and I got this? Then I noticed something odd. The shed's interior felt small. Too small for its outside size. I stepped back outside, circling the weathered walls, my curiosity prickling. The shed looked bigger from the exterior, like it was hiding something. Behind a cluster of overgrown cedar trees, I found it, a second door, nearly invisible, blending into the wood. "No way," I gasped. Inside, there'd been no hint of another entrance. My pulse quickened. Dad loved surprises, hidden Easter eggs, birthday gifts tucked in secret spots. Was this one of his tricks? I rushed back inside, searching for a clue. My hands shook as I rummaged through the tools, and then I found it, for keys tucked inside a hollow shovel handle, clever as ever. I raced to the hidden door, trying each key until one clicked. The door creaked open, revealing a tiny room, and there, in the dim light, stood a safe, tall, heavy, and familiar. I froze, my breath catching. It was the safe from Dad's hardware store office, the one I'd seen as a kid when I'd sit cross-legged on the floor, watching him sort his rare coins. "Is this for real?" I whispered, a mix of awe and nostalgia washing over me. I tried the third key, and the safe opened with a groan, revealing stacks of small boxes. Inside were coins gleaming, rare, his pride and joy. Morgan dollars, Liberty nickels, coins he'd shown me with stories of their history. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was Dad, leaving me a piece of himself. Tears pricked my eyes as I held a worn penny, one he'd given me when I was 10, saying, "Lydia, this one's worth more than money." The shed wasn't worthless. It was a treasure chest, a final gift from Dad. I locked the safe, my mind racing. This changed everything, but it also brought new worries. What was this worth? Would there be taxes? I needed help, and fast. As I drove back to Mom's, the coin's weight felt like both a blessing and a burden, tying me to Dad but pulling me into a new challenge. After finding the coins, I couldn't stop thinking about what they meant, not just their value, but the love Dad poured into them. I called a friend who recommended a CPA in Nashville, a no-nonsense woman named Carla who specialized in inheritances. Over coffee at a diner, I showed her photos of the coins, my hands fidgeting as I explained their origin. She whistled low. "Lydia, these are rare. Could be worth a lot." After a professional appraisal, the truth hit. The collection was valued at $600,000. My jaw dropped. This was life-changing, but it came with strings. Inheritance taxes, legal paperwork, decisions I wasn't ready for. Carla advised keeping a few sentimental pieces and selling the rest to cover taxes and avoid complications. I chose to keep Dad's favorite, a 1921 Morgan dollar he'd called his lucky coin, its worn edges a reminder of his hands. The rest I sold to a collector, using the money to settle taxes and send $5,000 gift cards to relatives who'd supported Dad during his illness, like our aunt who'd driven hours to sit with him one afternoon as I was sketching designs at home. The doorbell rang. There stood Megan, her designer purse slung over her shoulder, looking out of place on my porch. "Just passing through," she said, but her eyes darted, like she was hunting for something. I invited her in, pouring iced tea, but she was restless, barely touching her glass. "What's with you, Lydia? Did you hit the jackpot or something?" she blurted. I frowned, confused. "What are you talking about?" She leaned forward, voice sharp. "Our aunt got a $5,000 gift card from you. Nobody just gives that kind of money away. What's going on?" Her accusation hit like a slap. I'd sent the gift to thank our aunt, not to flaunt anything. But Megan's mind was spinning, her old greed flaring up. I sighed, too tired to fight. "It's from the shed, Meg. You didn't want it, remember?" Her eyes narrowed, so I told her about the hidden door, the safe, the coins. "Dad left me his collection. It's worth a lot, but it's not what you think." Her face twisted, part envy, part disbelief. "You're sitting on a fortune and you're sending gift cards?" she snapped. I tried to explain the taxes, the sales, how I kept only what mattered, but she wasn't listening. "You always play the saint, don't you?" she said, storming out. Her words stung, but they also lit a fire in me. I'd honored Dad's legacy, done things right. Why couldn't she see that? As I watched her car peel away, a knot formed in my stomach. Something told me this wasn't over. That night, my phone buzzed, Mom's voice frantic on the other end. "Lydia, get here quick." My heart raced as Ben and I sped to her house, the Tennessee night dark and heavy. Red and blue lights flashed outside, police cars lining the driveway. I pushed through a small crowd of neighbors, finding Mom trembling on the porch. "Someone broke in," she whispered, her eyes wide. She'd been getting ready for bed when she heard noises, drawers yanked open, footsteps thudding. Alone, terrified, she'd climbed out a window and run to our neighbor, who called the cops. My stomach twisted. Who would do this? The truth was worse than I imagined. The burglar was Megan. After our talk, she'd driven to Mom's, obsessed with the safe, convinced it held more riches. She'd snuck in, flashlight in hand, searching for the coins I'd already sold. When the police arrived, she panicked, trying to flee, but tripped and knocked over the safe. It crashed onto her leg, pinning her until officers pulled her free. She was rushed to the hospital, screaming in pain, her face a mix of guilt and fear. I stood there, stunned, as Mom clung to my arm. How had it come to this? At the hospital, the story unraveled. I called Todd, Megan's husband, who arrived looking exhausted. He revealed the truth. Megan had racked up massive credit card debt, buying luxury clothes and jewelry to keep up appearances. They'd fought that morning, and she'd stormed out, planning to beg Mom for money. When she learned about the coins, her desperation took over. "I'm done," Todd said, his voice flat. "I'm filing for divorce." Megan, in her hospital bed, clutched a job magazine, her eyes red. "I'm not signing anything," she insisted, but when Todd showed her the papers, listing her debts, she crumbled, signing with a shaky hand. It was a brutal moment, but part of me felt a strange relief. Maybe this was her wake-up call. Amid the chaos, I got news that changed everything. I was pregnant. Ben and I had been trying for years, and the joy hit like sunlight after a storm. After talking it over, we decided to move back to Mom's house, to be there for her and raise our child in the home where I grew up. I wished Dad could know, but I felt his presence in the lucky coin I carried, a reminder of his love. The drama with Megan faded against this new hope, a chance to build something beautiful. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through grief, betrayal, and unexpected treasures. If this story moved you, hit subscribe and join us. Every family has its battles, but it's the love we hold onto that shapes our future. Keep chasing your own light.